So she's helping me get really, really clear about how I can feel something, have an emotion, and also not have to fly off the handle about it. You know, I don't have to react to it. I can acknowledge it. I can be aware of it. And I can also be really, really present. That emotion doesn't have to take me out. And I don't have to lose myself or lose my way of being. I don't have to be disrespectful to somebody else because somebody else was disrespectful to me. I don't have to attack somebody else that might have been attacking me. I can actually take a deep breath and choose my response versus the way that I grew up and how I would react. And I'm just finding so much gratitude and so much grace for this wild mama mare and being able to watch her grow, because she's I think she's going to be 7 this year. So she came when she was 3. She already had her son with her who was 5 months old, and she had her daughter who was in her belly and who gave birth on George's ranch. And to just witness her over these years, to do my best to understand her from her perspective, and to be at this place. And I know it's taken 3 years. Like, that's what keeps running through my head. It didn't have to take 3 years, but it took 3 years because it took the time that it took to be able to choose to do this work with her. But I had to be able to be open to do this work with her in this way and be able to finally understand from her. It wasn't just about getting these things accomplished. It was also about really recognizing her and being able to hear how she felt and what she needed and what horses go through during the training process. Because so much of what we hear, so much of what we learn, so much of what we understand, it's actually more from our perspective, not theirs. And so, you know, we think because we're reading body language or reading the horse, and in certain ways, you know, I can acquiesce to that. But it isn't the total truth of the horse. And I've asked different natural horsemen, you know, so I understand that you're listening to the body language, but do you actually hear the horse? Like, do you actually hear them speaking to you? Do you actually feel or sense or know, you know, exactly what they're telling you or sharing with you? Do you see visions or pictures that they give you? And every single one of them was honest, which I so deeply appreciate. And they said, no, I'm reading the body language. I don't hear the horse. And when I first started this with Siri, this was not in any way, shape, or form what I thought would transpire. And I'm really glad and really grateful that I'm being able to do these, you know, live. I mean, I could work with her and then sit and come home and try to write about the experience, and I could, you know, try to capture it in words on paper. But there's something that just she shared with me, and she said, people need to hear your voice. People need to hear this from you as it's happening in real time. People need to hear the voice so they can connect with the emotion of what's taking place, so that they can actually be able to replicate this with their own animals. And so I guess my sharing, in a way, is a teaching. It's probably not going to teach you, you know, do these 7 steps. If anything that that it teaches you or it helps you recognize in yourself. It is my deepest intention and my deepest wish that it awakens within you a sense of self-trust, that it awakens in you a sense of feeling safe, that you can rely on your own instincts, that you can open up, and that you can start to hear your horse as well. Even if you think at first, oh my God, this is silly or this is ridiculous. And whether you want to take an animal communication course with me or you want to learn how to do body work with me and I can teach you how to do that, that you will actually just open yourself up to remembering the truth of who you really are. Just because Siri and I are doing this together the way that she's kind of directing it, unfolding, it doesn't mean that you don't have the same abilities and your horse doesn't. You absolutely do. And now is the time to be able to trust yourself and to trust them and to open up and expand on the relationship you have. To, we do so many things as humans very linearly, right? Like we drive cars, got to stay on one side of the road or the other. We live in houses, it's a box. Everything we do, our cell phones are boxes. Like we don't really live in a circular world. And if you actually look inside of our body or you look at our cells, they're round, right? A molecule is usually round. So, if anything, I pray that this inspires you to touch the place within yourself that you remember is that sacred space where all of life is deeply connected in an energy of communion. And that communion with all of life is what actually is the basis for the energy field we all live in. And we live in heaven on Mother Earth. We're already in heaven. But because we stepped out of that circle, that sacred hoop that all life lives in, we are now living in these squares and these boxes. And, it's like Siri and I are inside a square pen, but we're remembering together the circle. We're remembering together that we're mending the sacred hoop of all life. We're remembering how we really communicate at the deepest soul essence level. And how, I guess through this journey, it's like I didn't ever really quote unquote want to train her because I didn't have the agenda to ride. But I definitely wanted to understand her. And I wanted to deepen our connection in a way that the things that I need her to do, at different times, like get her feet done, or if her teeth have to be done, or if, God forbid she gets hurt, that it can be done in a way where she retains her sacred wild to the greatest degree that I am able to give that to her and not break her spirit. Not have her submit to me, but see if she will choose to hold her instincts in check for a few minutes and to trust me enough to let me take care of her the way that she needs to be taken care of now that she's in captivity. That has been the biggest learning I have had here. How do we connect and still honor each other's wildness? She's showing me a level of my own wild that I didn't really understand, because having been traumatized at a very young age with sexual abuse, there's always been this line that I didn't know how to draw, or this boundary. And now she's helping me understand it, but in a way that doesn't ever have to be so triggering again.